As a CEO, we've got 13 people in the Republican race, and they all have a spiel. And you're listening to mine tonight. But here's where I'm different, I believe. The governor's responsibility is to be the CEO of the state and the CEO of the party, the Republican Party. Of the 13 candidates, not one has ever held elected office. And that's alarming to me, because here's my point. If you guys have a better candidate, I'll step out. I'll get out of the way. I want to beat Gretchen Whitmer. And I'm going to spend time telling you how she's hurt this state and what I would do different. But you're going to have to decide if what I say that I would do would be well-intended, or if I have the experience to execute it for you. That's your decision. You're going to have speakers that are much more polished than me. And that's okay, because they're speakers. You're going to have people that are well-intended. And that's why they're running. Doesn't make them qualified. How many people in the room have ever had a surgical procedure? Just raise your hand real quick. When you went for that surgical procedure, did you interview doctors and hope that they were well-intended, or did you look for capable, qualified doctors?
Capable.
And did anybody look for the well-intended doctor to do the surgery on him? The Republican Party in Michigan has elected people at times that are really well-intended and incapable, not because they're bad people, because they don't know what to do, because they don't have any experience. If you become a traditional politician, you're good at doing this, pointing the finger at the other guy. You're good at gridlock and deadlock. And that distracts you from doing what you're supposed to do. See, somewhere in our Constitution, both at the federal level and the state level, is the concept that government is for the people, by the people. What that means is government's supposed to serve the people. People don't serve the government in this country. That's one of the beautiful things about our republic. And we are a republic, and all of you know that. But most people don't. They think we're a democracy. We are a republic that functions in a democratic way. So, our Republic of Michigan, we need somebody who understands state rights and is willing to fight for those rights, because the founders said that that's what was important. They didn't want the federal government to control everyone. People left. Wars were fought. They strove to get away from that because they wanted self-governance. And so if you look at the state constitution, under this particular administration, a democratically favored Supreme Court has issued several rulings against this administration because they violate the state constitution and the powers that the governor has tried to exert. Think about that. She's willing to give away when she supports what's going on in Washington, and make no bones about it. Was Gretchen Whitmer for the last 3 years governing Michigan, or was she auditioning for 2 of those years to become the Vice President of the United States? All of her actions mirrored what Joe Biden was doing. And when you think about it, because I got a very dry sense of humor, and I'll share this with you. I'm not particularly impressed with Kamala. Okay, I don't think she's very good. And I got to give Joe Biden credit for being smart enough not to hire Gretchen and pick Kamala, because Kamala's probably better than Gretchen. And you think about that. And is that what you want to accept from Michigan? As we sit here today, Michigan, 41st in economic recovery since the inception of COVID, in the fastest falling state in America. The greatest loss of personal income, 9.67%. Michigan, congratulations. Most small businesses closed in Michigan, per capita. Michigan led the country. 50% of those small businesses closed will not reopen. Recently, under this administration, the governor vetoed penalties and fines associated with small business operators who, during her Supreme Court determined lockdowns that were unconstitutional, that she then went to the HHS and they used a different way to implement exactly what they said the governor didn't have the authority to do. Wretched and dumb. She's wily. She's really smart, and she is tougher than Chinese arithmetic. And I hope I'm not offending anybody that's really good at Chinese arithmetic, because it's tough. But that's what we're up against. And I can keep going on with things. So, even when we look at seniors and how we count seniors who died, for you, if they were a family member, they died, right? You've lost them. My father died, okay? I get it. And I find it so disingenuous that when this administration issues a report on senior deaths and related to COVID, that there is a dispute on how we count who died. Is that not political in nature? I find it personally disgusting. You know what? COVID's awful. It's a nasty virus. That's the bad side of it. If we would have treated it and actually followed the science, and I'll challenge any one of you. When I say follow the science, I will provide you doctors' names, reports, medical institutions that have expressed an opinion, and I'll challenge any one of you to find, as Gretchen Whitmer said, I'm following the science, when she forced seniors with COVID back into their nursing homes to provide the science. She can't, and she won't.
Political science is what she was following.
Thank you, that's really good. I didn't think of that. You know what, can I steal that one? Thank you. She followed political science. You know, in Michigan, public education, one of the fastest declining in the country, which is a really bad thing. 30+% of the kids that graduated last year from public schools in Michigan couldn't spell their name. This administration is like, yes, you're looking at me like, oh my God, it's that startling. It's awful. And what, we're gonna send those kids to college? Because they have a right to go to college?
Let them vote.
Well, you gotta let them vote if they're a legal citizen, if they're properly registered and they have an ID. That's the beauty of America. And I'll tell you what, when I say that I wanna look at election irregularity, I do. And it's not to exclude anybody that is legally able to vote. But I just left Washington, D.C. And to walk into a building, I had to provide this. A vax card. To walk into a building, I had to provide this, a federal picture ID. To enter a building, they had security people at the door in our nation's capital. And they say that you can vote without an ID. I say, what the hell's that all about? 83% of Americans believe that an ID is an appropriate thing to have to vote. And guess what? Every election, there's a whole bunch of people who are disappointed. That's the nature of it. Somebody wins, somebody loses. So I'm not going to run around and talk about the past election. I know this, that there were significant irregularities, and that's irrefutable, because the Supreme Court ruled that there were irregularities of Michigan, okay? And that's not acceptable. I know this, that as we sit here today, there's almost 500,000 names on voting rolls in the state of Michigan that are either incorrectly registered or haven't voted in over 20 years. And that is an opportunity, because there's bad people out there that want to cheat, that want to manipulate, that want to take away our rights. And I think that good leadership takes away the opportunities in the event that people want to cheat. I don't know, maybe some of you were working the polls, maybe some of you saw things that I didn't. If you're right, I'm open to it being proven to me. And I'm not against people checking out, because if one person believes that the election was fixed, it's one too many. And it shouldn't be a Republican or a Democratic thing. It's our greatest privilege. And I'll fight for anybody. And I'm willing to suffer the results of the people. And I'm also willing to celebrate the results of the people. So, what I want to do, because I'm probably getting close to my time, and you guys have been great, and I could keep talking, not because I like to talk, but because I am really passionate about this, you guys. I am committed to you. I'm putting up $10 million of my own money, okay? And it's the worst business investment I could ever make. There's a saying out there, if you get into politics, the last thing you should do is use your own money. Well, I'm using my money not because I don't need you to support me, not because I don't need you to contribute to my campaign, but because I wanted to get a message out. And if the people of Michigan get behind me, we'll see it in the polling, we'll see it in the contribution numbers, we'll see it in the people that access social media, but I want to share a couple things with you that I find really exciting before I'm done and take your questions. I held a teletown hall, the first one ever, for me, the other night. 10,000 people were on the phone for an hour and 20 minutes, asking me questions. The next day, our digital opportunities went up 18,000 hits. They must have liked what they said. You know, it's so funny to me that when they attacked me, and Gretchen Whitmer has now sent out 13 fundraising items saying Kevin Rinke's wrong for Michigan. And here's what I'm wrong about. I want our kids to be educated. That's wrong. I want government to be of value and appropriately sized for you. That's wrong. I want transparency in government. And one of the first things I'm going to do is the governor in the legislature in Michigan does not have to comply with FOIA. Day one, I'm signing that every government employee will be held to the same standards that you are when the government wants to look at you. I want complete transparency. I got nothing to hide. I'm going to come out and tell you the good, the bad, the ugly, and then we're going to fix it. So there's more, and I'm sorry if I have spent too much time in one area or the other, but I like to share it. And I want to work for you. And I'm going to ask that you join me, because that's what it's going to take. And if you can afford to make a contribution, I'd ask that you do that. I ask that you do that. The Republican Governors Association this weekend, the head of it said to me, Kevin, if you can raise X number of dollars in the next 5 months, we know what you're putting in. We will come in behind you with the largest contribution in the history of the organization to a gubernatorial campaign. They committed $20 million. And unfortunately, disgustingly, politics is really expensive. I don't like that about it. It shouldn't be that expensive. It's wrong, but it is. And if we want to beat Gretchen, you got to believe in the vote. You got to know your vote counts. You got to know that the person you're voting for isn't well-intended, but who can actually deliver. And you'll see my contract with Michigan in 6 very specific areas. And I'll close with this. Steve Moore. I don't know if any of you know who Steve is. He's one of the top economic advisors in the world. He was Donald Trump's chief economic advisor. Steve will be announcing that he's joining my team as my economic advisor, and I'm really proud of that. Patrick Anderson, the top economic advising group in the state of Michigan, is combining with Steve. And we're going to show you a Michigan economically that serves the people, that's business friendly, that the regulations are appropriately sized, and we're going to change things. Because politicians don't have any vision, because they've never had to achieve something other than being political. Business people have visions. And I don't just want to hit the bar or get a little bit above Gretchen's bar, because that's pretty low. Remember when Barack Obama said, what's he going to do? Wave a wand and create all these jobs? That's talking vision. And that's talking how you approach a problem and how you solve it. And business people understand that. And that's how we're different. And that's how I'm your candidate. Because when you look at it, I'm not well-intended. I'm qualified. And I hope you can see that. And I thank you very much for your time.